It doesn't begin with failure. It begins with a moment so ordinary, it almost slips past unnoticed. You're scrolling, half paying attention, and then you see it. Someone your age, maybe younger, announcing something final. A promotion, a marriage, a house, a life that looks settled. You don't feel jealousy. You feel disoriented. Like everyone else started the race earlier. Like the instructions were handed out quietly and somehow skipped you. Like time has been moving forward, but not at the same speed. This is what it feels like to believe you're behind in life. Not broken, not lazy, just late. And the hardest part is that no one else can see it. From the outside, you're functional. You respond to messages. You laugh at the right moments. You say you're figuring things out. But internally, there's a low, constant pressure, an unspoken countdown asking the same question again and again. Why am I not where I'm supposed to be by now? Psychology has terms for this experience, but the language often falls short because this isn't just comparison. It's not just insecurity. It's a sense that your life is slightly out of sync with time itself, like the world is running on one schedule and you're operating on another. People who feel behind often carry an invisible timeline in their mind, not a real one, a social one. By this age, you should have clarity. By that age, stability. By now, something solid to point to. These timelines are rarely chosen consciously. They're absorbed from family expectations, cultural norms, social media, movies, conversations overheard growing up. Over time, they stop feeling like opinions and start feeling like facts. And once that belief settles in, your perception changes. You stop noticing what you've done. You start fixating on what's missing. You don't measure growth. You measure distance. Distance from the version of yourself you thought you'd be by now. Psychologically, this creates a painful internal split. The present self feels misaligned with the imagined self. And the longer that gap exists, the heavier it becomes. Life starts to feel stalled, even when you're technically moving, working, learning, surviving, improving in quiet ways. But none of it feels valid, because it doesn't match the picture you're comparing yourself against. Here's the cruel part. Feeling behind doesn't motivate movement. It often freezes it. When a mind believes time is running out, it enters a constant state of background stress. Not panic, not obvious fear, just a persistent urgency that tightens everything. Creativity shrinks. Decision-making feels overwhelming. Every choice starts to feel loaded. What if this wastes more time? What if this proves I'm already too late? What if I choose wrong again? Rest feels undeserved. Exploration feels dangerous. Commitment feels risky. So people pause, not because they don't care, but because caring feels like too much. This is why so many people who feel behind are exhausted without knowing why. They are constantly replaying alternate timelines in their head. Lives where they started sooner, chose differently, knew better, acted faster. The brain doesn't experience these thoughts as imagination. It experiences them as loss. And loss, even imagined loss, creates grief. Another layer that rarely gets named is shame. Not loud shame, quiet shame. The kind that shows up when someone asks, "So what are you doing these days?" and your chest tightens before you answer. The kind that makes you minimize your efforts because you assume they won't sound impressive enough. This shame isn't based on reality. It's based on identity built through comparison. When worth becomes relative, your sense of self becomes fragile. You don't ask whether you're growing. You ask whether you're growing fast enough compared to everyone else. And comparison is a race with no finish line. Modern life makes this worse. The human brain evolved to compare itself within small groups. Now it compares your private, unfinished process to thousands of polished outcomes. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference. It interprets constant upward comparison as evidence of inadequacy. So people begin to rewrite their story. Maybe I'm just bad at life. Maybe I missed my window. Maybe everyone else figured something out that I didn't. But these aren't truths. They're conclusions drawn from incomplete information. What often goes unrecognized is that feeling behind can be a sign of delayed alignment, not delayed ability. Many people move slowly because they're trying to build something that actually fits. And fit takes time. People who feel behind are often reflective. They question paths instead of automatically following them. They hesitate not because they're incapable, but because they don't want to construct a life they'll later have to dismantle. But reflection doesn't look productive on a timeline. There's no applause for inner clarity, no celebration for choosing not to rush. So from the outside, it looks like stagnation. From the inside, it's often quiet rebuilding. Another factor is emotional backlog. Many people who feel behind spent earlier years surviving rather than building. They were managing instability, pressure, self-doubt, or environments that demanded endurance instead of growth. When your nervous system is focused on safety, long-term planning gets postponed. That's not failure. It's biology. Later, when stability finally arrives, comparison shows up. You're safe now, so why aren't you ahead? Because safety came late, and healing doesn't follow a schedule. Emotional resilience, self-awareness, empathy, these aren't visible milestones, but they shape life more deeply than early achievements. Still, the mind keeps asking for proof. This tension leads to urgency-driven choices, sudden commitments, impulsive changes, decisions made to escape the feeling of being behind, rather than to move towards something meaningful. And urgency rarely leads to peace. People are often told to stop comparing or move at their own pace. But that advice misses the core issue. The problem isn't noticing others. It's attaching worth to speed. When speed equals value, slowing down feels like disappearing. The work isn't to outrun comparison. It's to detach identity from velocity. Life isn't a straight track. It's cyclical. Some phases are for building, others for healing, experimenting, or unlearning. Trying to harvest during a season of planning only creates frustration. Feeling behind doesn't mean you missed your chance. It means momentum is no longer enough. Choice matters now. People who move quickly early often follow scripts. People who feel behind are forced to write their own. That process is slower, lonelier, but more honest. The discomfort you feel isn't evidence of inadequacy. It's awareness arriving. Awareness always comes before change. And one of the most grounding realizations is this. You are not behind life. You are in conversation with it. Your pace reflects your values, your circumstances, your questions. And those things can't be rushed without losing meaning. The feeling of being behind often fades not when life speeds up, but when compassion finally meets awareness. When the question shifts from, why am I not there yet, to what is this phase teaching me? Because learning doesn't show up on timelines, but it shapes every chapter that follows. Many people who once felt behind eventually look back and realize the delay gave them depth. The uncertainty taught them discernment. The slow pace forced honesty instead of performance. They didn't miss life. They met it more truthfully. Being behind isn't a permanent identity. It's a temporary perspective, one that often appears right before clarity, alignment, and a quieter kind of forward motion begins. Not faster, not louder, but truer.